Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this Scriptcase video. Today's topic is the bus and transport ticketing platform, which you can use to sell tickets, or which clients can use to purchase tickets for bus and transportation and so forth. So the main purpose of this platform is to not only take PayPal payments, but to also generate a QR code which the user can then scan with their phone and read relevant data. So we are going to cover the majority of that during this project. If you watched part 1, then you will know that we are going to skip over some of it, and that if you want to see the main aspects of the original project, then you can do so here on our Spanish side, which is here Sergio. The video is still running. Sergio is showing here the creation of the video. So viewing our Scriptcase channel, you can come here to the channels, and then you can see here the reservation system for buses or agencies with the QR code, which is the last project created by Sergio. So in today's videos, we are downloading the project, which we have actually just done in the previous video, and we will go ahead and now import it into our Scriptcase version. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I've just started up my WAMP server. So I'm going to be using a local WAMP server, and I will close this remote Scriptcase that I have running here. And I'm going to go ahead and close the Scriptcase channel as well as the Google Drive here also, and that. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start my local Scriptcase. And then I will need to log in here. And from here, I will then go ahead and import the project files. So I do need to update. I'm not going to do that now. So first of all, if I come here to project and import project, I can choose file. Okay, so here from here, I go to my PC, go and downloads. And here I have the file that I've just downloaded, and then I can upload that. So while my project is being imported, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my WAMP and open up the Phpmyadmin. Okay, so I need to actually update first. So this may be an issue on your side as well if you haven't yet updated. So I'm just going to go quickly to my settings, Scriptcase update, and we will just go ahead and update my version of Scriptcase, because there was a new version released yesterday or the day before, I believe, and I hadn't had a chance to look at it or update it yet. So let's just quickly go through that, and then we will be able to update, well, import the new project. Okay, so as I was saying, while that's happening, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to import the database into Phpmyadmin. Okay, so that's opening Phpmyadmin, and go to root, come back here. Don't like to leave this one hanging, keep it going. Okay, so we have here my Phpmyadmin and my databases. So I'm just going to come here to SQL and then keep an eye on that for a moment while I then copy the original databases. Okay, it's taken a moment. Now I do have fiber connection, 10 meg fiber connection also, so it's not like I'm on a slow connection. So I then come here and, no, that didn't copy, paste, please. Why do I have no paste? Copy and paste. Okay, Control V works just fine. Okay, so then up at the top here, I need to make a slight edit for this, and I think we're good. Create database, if not existing, yes, please, and go. Okay, so my database has now been added. So I come now here on the left hand side, I have BD. Now if I come here, it's not there yet, it's BD buses. So I need to refresh the whole page. I'm going to do that, and now have BD buses. Okay, so the database is now imported into my local MySQL. I'm still updating my script case for a moment, so I shall be right back. Okay, so now script case is updated. I can log back in again, and then we can now go ahead and import our project. So choose the file again, downloads, and send. And the project will now be imported into Scriptcase, and we can then easily start to edit it. So I'm going to leave the name as buses, okay, and import it. We can change the name there if we wanted to. Buses, multi-language, or whichever. I'm just going to leave it here as buses. Or the applications will now be inserted. Okay, I should note that the update that we just went through is much faster on my remote machine. I don't know why that is, even though my host machine now is much more powerful than the remote machine. It is just much faster there when I do the updates remotely and use Scriptcase remotely. I find the experience much better. So I don't use it very often here on the local host. Okay, so we now have all of our applications. And the first thing I'll do here is, first of all, let's go ahead and add some of these descriptions. So I'm just going to add a couple here so you see how that's done. It's quite easily. So here I'm just going to add then the document X country. Okay, and bus stations, the station form, and here we have the country form. And then we have here the document X country grid list. And we have here the country grid list. Okay, so the original project you will be downloading from myself will be the one I showed you originally. So it has all of this as I have originally added it. I won't add any more. So these are the only ones I will be updating the description for. But you will find in your project you will have them all updated. Okay, so now that we have imported our project and remember our database is here ready, we can then go ahead and start to make changes for our applications. But before I start, there was one change I had to make to the database. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So first of all, we had here the grid Activo. So we have here for the buses, Activo, structure. Now this here was a bit int. Now when I went to update this, it wouldn't update. So I changed this to an int value and saved that. Okay, so that was pretty much the only change I've made within the entire database. Okay, the rest will be down to you. Okay, so now that that has been updated, of course, the applications which are using this for the form, for instance, will need to be updated. So before we do that, we need to update the project with the database. So I'm going to come into project and then properties. And then here in properties, I can then first of all add here the locals. So I'm going to change here locals. First of all, I'm going to start adding the languages straight away. I'm going to say here, add first of all English. Actually find it here. We go English selected, and here English also, English UK. Okay, add that. Okay, and we will change here the format to UTF-8 also. You can ignore this. Okay. Okay, so now we want to add German also. Add German. And here we add German, Germany, add, and I'll change that to UTF also. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so this is basically telling us that our application languages will be updated and added with the new languages. Now we haven't added the data dictionary yet, so we will do that shortly. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is then also update the database. Okay, so now that's been applied. We can also come here to database and edit the connection. Select the connection, and we see that it's access denied for root. So I have a few options here. I can either create a new connection, which is usually the easiest. I'm just going to create a new one. I'll come here, I'll go database, new connection, MySQL. I'm just going to list my databases. You can enter then your username, password. You'll provide a connection name, as well as then the server host. Okay, so then now here, I'm going to select the VD buses table. I'm going to save that. Okay, so now I have two database connections here. I'm going to delete the first one and just leave the new one there. Okay, so I can close my connections now, and I can close the edit connection. Now I should just be left with one connection, and what I'm going to do then is straight away come here to Express Edit. I'm going to say all applications, and then here I'm going to change the connection and go next. And then we select the new connection and apply. And now all applications will be using the new connections. Okay, so I'm going to generate the source code from here. We haven't done that yet. So that will now generate all of the applications we have within the project. Okay, now it's important, of course, to highlight that we have that I'm applying multiple languages. And say, for instance, now if I wanted to only have this in English and remove the multiple languages afterwards, I can come back here to Application, Express Edit. There is another update here we want to apply. So what I'm going to apply is the connection for fields also. So we didn't change that just now. We should have actually added that. Now for yourself, you may want to change here the language. So if I select here the language, I'm going to do that also. Go next. And I'm going to change the language to English and the connection for the fields also to the con MySQL 1. Going to apply that. And now the default application of all applications will be English and no longer Spanish. We generate the applications again, which really wasn't need to be done twice. Once was enough really. Okay, so now that all the applications are generated, I'm also going to go ahead now and run the data dictionary. Okay, so I'm going to give it a new name here. I'm going to call it bus languages. We can give it a description. We specify the connection that it's associated to, and we can also associate the dictionary with the connection. I'm going to say yes. So I'm going to create the data dictionary. And then what the data dictionary does, it scans the MySQL database. Okay, we can add then modify the details here if we wanted to by clicking here the edit, reload and close buttons. We can make various changes, as well as then below here we have here first of all add dictionaries to table, and on the right here we have all of our tables. Okay, so what we need to do is actually select all of these so that they will all be added now to the data dictionary. We could select individual ones if we wanted to. I'm going to select them all because they all are used within our applications and they all present language keys basically. So now I'm going to go ahead and click next. Okay, so we can generate indexes in language files with table field labels. Okay, so what that means basically is that Scriptcase will go ahead and change all of the language keys from all of the database type fields that we have within our applications, and it will apply the new language keys. Okay, and what we're going to do then also is we're going to overwrite language files indexes. Okay, so that's if there are any already there, it's just going to overwrite them. I'm going to go add, and now we can see Scriptcase working, and the tables have now been updated and synchronized. Okay, so then we can actually synchronize them again just to make sure that's actually happened here, and we can synchronize all of the tables. Okay, so we can synchronize the dictionary and the applications. Now within the right hand side here we can see here the label that has been applied to each of the applications. Excuse me. And we have then also on the right here the option to edit. Okay, so if I come down here, for instance, to the table buses, I click here on edit, I could basically change the language labels which would be applied for this table, as well as indicate the field length, the decimals, as well as the data type. So right away here, I can indicate the data type and settings for each of the fields. Now, in general, I do not apply that. I only use the language keys, as I've not found use for applying all of it, as it tends to actually make other changes there. For instance, you can see we have all the data types available here, but we don't really have the options, and it just makes it a little easier just to apply that within the form. But we could apply that here for a global management aspect, which would be, of course, much easier. Okay, so I'm going to click now next to synchronize the applications. Okay, and then I receive then the option of which of the tables here, first of all, I want to synchronize, as well as the application. So we have here the table, the applications, which I want to synchronize, and then the properties, which I had defined within the previous edit. Okay, so there I specify only the label. I don't care about the data type, the size, the decimals, whether it's required, or any of the other values that I can define there, only the label. Okay, so I'm going to then go ahead and click synchronize, and that will now synchronize all of my applications with the data dictionary and apply all of the language keys. Now, if we scroll through here, we can see a few fields where we have an error indicated. Okay, so these fields are generally because they are not related to the database. So they would be fields that you have added yourself, and then they are not associated to a database table, so cannot just generate a language key for that. So we'll show you how to go around that, and we will update those fields within these applications. So we could take a note of that, but we will generally see them as we run them, and I'll show you how to change that anyway. And then if I don't apply it somewhere, you know how to do that. Okay, so now that's done, I can go here and click close, and my data dictionary is ready. Okay, so now the data dictionary is ready, I can then also, well, let's check out first of all one of the applications. So you can see they've all been updated. So I open up, say for here, the form, for instance. We now have all of these fields. They're no longer in Spanish. They all have language keys applied to them. Okay. Right, so let's go ahead and close that. And then open up here the application language once again. Well, for the first time, should I say. But we will be opening it many more times, so don't worry. Okay, so here within the application languages, we have all of the language keys organized. So we have here, if I minimize these folders here, first of all, we have by default the home folder. Now, if we click here on the home folder, we see this screen here, okay? If I click then on Scriptcase Messages, we have then the default messages which Scriptcase applies for all of the applications. So for instance, you have or for JavaScript or buttons and so forth, and you can see it has applied the Spanish, English and the German for each of these. Okay, so these are all available for the Scriptcase messages for each of the languages that we apply. So we don't even have to apply or search for language keys, hire a translator or anything else. Scriptcase has already provided that work for us, which is just great. Okay, so we can see here then within these language keys, we have here first of all the index, which is the language key we apply within our application. So we include that then within curly brackets. We then have the default value in English, and then we have the language keys translated. Okay, so this is then where we translate each of those keys. So we can say here the buttons Ajax is in Spanish buscar, in English search, and in German suchen. Okay, so to make changes here, we can update these if we really wanted to, and we just click here the update messages. If you make any changes here to the Scriptcase messages, then you will be asked if you want to notify Scriptcase that maybe this is a better option or translation or word for this element that you've got there. Alternatively, you can just change it for yourself and not worry about telling Scriptcase anything, and just update it and it will be applied within your project. Okay, so below that we have the project messages. Now these are all of the messages that have been imported from your database tables. So we have a general folder which is always empty, and then we have the tables from your database. And then with that, we can see then the language keys, the languages that have been applied, as well as then the elements that have been applied. So for all of these Scriptcase applications, you'll notice that here we have the English, Spanish, English and German put in for each of these. And if we come here to TV buses, we have the same thing, which is then the fields from each of the applications. Okay, so basically what I've gone and done is for each of these table buses, I've come here to DeepL translation, which is just deepl.com. I've then entered that in there. Sorry, let me come back here. Copied that in there, into here, and then changed from Spanish into English. And of course, in some cases, it's going to be the same anyway. Okay, so we have here number bus, which is then bus number. Sorry, put that there. If I remember, I can't use my Control C. Okay, so my number bus name, and then I could just copy that from here. So just copy, and then here I can then paste that, and then I have the field translated. Okay, so I've gone and done that for all of these fields for Spanish, English and German. So you will find that the downloaded project will have all of the language keys applied. If you do come across any, you will only have to come in here and edit this field. So here, client exit time. Okay, so there, just click on the update, and then we have then the field updated. Okay. Okay, so of course we could spend a great deal of time running through the application languages and changing all of these fields. I'm not going to do that for this video, I'm afraid, because I would literally take up an entire video just doing that. It did take me 2-3 hours just to apply all of the languages. Okay, so sorry, I just moved the wrong window there. Okay, so within the project, we then also have the applications which are managed by the administrator, which we are viewing here now. We have here the country document, as we said, the bus station form, the country form, document X grid, and the country grid list. We have then also the buses, forms, as well as then the grids, the programs for the buses, and then also the solicitations by the client, so confirmations, reservations. And then we have then also the client views. So within the client views, we have the folder tickets. We can view the form clients and grid clients. And then we have the ticket reservation information, as well as then the PayPal. So we will be covering all of this shortly, and we will actually go into start making some changes to all of these. Okay, so let's start off, and we have here then the document X countries. If I run this form, I have then unauthorized user. So I need to enable here first of all the security within my application. So I come here to settings, and then we have system settings. Sorry, wrong one. My Scriptcase. So we come to my Scriptcase, and we enable here or disable. Okay, so we come from there into options and then my Scriptcase, and then here we can untick the enable use of security. I will save that. Okay, and I'll reload now. So it will reload Scriptcase. I will have to log back in again. I can log back in. And now I can actually go ahead and run the application. So I'll start here, the buses project. We see that the logo is not displayed correctly, so we will need to update that. So we have here now the forms. So if I come here now, form, and I run this form, I can now see the form without the security that is enabled from the login page. Okay, so when we then launch the project live, we will need to make adjustments to that. Okay. Okay, so within this project so far, we still need to apply the new theme. We want to make some changes to these applications. So one of the first things I like to do with the forms is apply some of the new features we have within Scriptcase. So first of all, this is the documents for the country. So I do think this should be a multiple record or even an editable grid or editable grid view, one of these options. So if I go ahead and select one of these, I like the grid view. So I use that, I run the application, and we see we have a slightly different layout for our form. We can then edit individual countries, and then the document types here. Okay, so with that, I will then also come here to settings, and I'll select the vertical alignment top, and I'll change the width to 100%. Width percent, there we go. And if I run, we now have our form squeezed to the top, and the whole thing is also at 100%. With 2 simple little clicks, we have the form looking much nicer. Okay, so we want to apply that to some of these forms so that they all look a little nicer, and we can then change the type of form. So here we have multiple records. Okay, so multiple records is like so, and then here what I'll do is, again, I'll just apply the same thing again, vertical alignment top, and change the percentage here 100%, because we have the width defined as percent already, as we had just now, and I had missed that. Okay, so now we are going to have the form looking like so again, and of course we could go ahead and make some changes here so that this actually views some more. So if I come here, for instance, to the toolbar, we can also make changes here to the toolbar. So I'll go ahead and adjust these. I do not like the buttons in the center. I always like everything nice and tidy. So I'll move them over to the right. And down here in the options, for instance, we have the records per page. And we have 10, 20, 50. Now by default, we tend to show 10. So, if you want to keep that there, I'm going to go ahead and add all at the end. So 50, all. And if I run that again now, I can come here, and then I can use now the drop down menu here, and I can select all, and it will show all of them. And there are only 6, of course, so we can actually do that same thing again in the buses grid here, or the document X country. Let's apply that here also, toolbar, scroll down here, and we change all, run that, and then even here in this form now, we can go ahead, select all, and all of the transactions or entries will then be displayed. Okay, so for the fields, for each of both of these, you can confirm that we have the language keys applied. So let's just double check that, edit fields, and we have language keys everywhere. So any changes we make within here, the application language, will reflect here on our application. Okay. Now for the title here, we have here the layout, header and footer, and we have here some of this still in Spanish. So what we're going to do here for both of these forms, if I come here also to layout, header and footer, again we have here TB document Xpage here and some title. Okay, so if I run this also, we can see there that that is then the default update of from Scriptcase, and then we have here the TB document Xpage. Okay, so what we want to do then is add our own title to that, which then also we want to have as multiple languages. So what I'm going to do then is I open up then here the application language, and I'm going to go new folder, and then here I'm going to type app_titles. Now I'll go add folder. Okay, and now our new folder will be created here on the left hand side. We can see that app titles, and I can start to create new language keys here. So we don't add the curly brackets here, we just add index, lang underscore, and then I'm going to say TB estados, or we can call it whatever we like, and now I'm going to say underscore title. Okay, or we can even call it stations or states or whatever we like. So I'll call it states. Okay, and then I can add here the translation for the Spanish. So I'm just going to type in estados, English status, and then in German it's pretty much the same thing, status, and then update. Okay, so now I have my language key here ready. I can select that, I can copy it, and then here within the form estados here, I will then go ahead and change the language key, add a curly bracket, and then add a closing curly bracket. Okay, like so. Now I can still go ahead and add anything else behind that title here, and of course I could even create custom titles for the insert and update. Again, all I do is come here to the application language. I go lang update, let's say fr for form, and we'll even leave that with no updates for form, and then status. Okay, and then update status. I don't know what it is in Spanish, so we'll just have to use deep L for that. Update status again, and I'll just apply that here in the German. Again, my Control C. Okay, and update that. Okay, so now first of all here, if I come into this one here, I can copy this, for instance. Copy, paste that into there, and then here we had lang update status. So then I'll just change that to lang update status. And then if I now run this form, I will now have the new title, update status, hello title. And if I then go to, okay, we're actually in a multi-edit form now, so we're only going to display the one title. I should highlight that fact. If we then go to form orientation, for instance, change it to single record, and then we will have a custom title for the insert. Okay, update status, and I'll go add new status, hello title. Okay, so that's actually should be the same here. We got multiple records. If we go add new, it will then add here multiple records, add new, add multiple records, and then we have here the status. Okay, so that's good. Now, how we would go about changing these fields here to multiple language, like I said, because these are also database entries, I didn't want to go ahead and apply what I would think is the best solution, because at the time I was also thinking that there are for sure alternative and better solutions than what I would apply. And of course, once you start changing database tables, it's much easier if you apply it yourself, first of all, and not have to change other people's database and code in that sense. Okay, so basically what I would apply here, we have for this table, for instance, we have stations. Now each station would be relevant to, or status, sorry, each status would be relevant to the user language. Okay, now we have a few ways of going around that. One would be to replace all of these statuses for icons so that they are universal. Another would be to add a new field into here. So we would then have another field, and that would then also be a text field, and that would then store the languages for the entries that have been added. Okay, now the only thing there of course is then that the ID changes, and for statuses IDs are important. So for the status, I would more than likely apply an image or an icon to replace that. And then here for the document X country, in this case we do have keys which would then be relevant to each individual language, and that then I would then possibly apply then a language key, and then adjust the table accordingly. So we do still have here the countries as well as the two lists or grid applications here. So I'm going to go quickly and edit those. And within the grid application, so if we go ahead and run that, grid countries, we then have a list of all of the applications for the countries. Now here I'm going to again apply a width of 100 and change to %. And I'm also going to go to settings. Now notice I also have the auto save enabled. So if you don't have that, you will need to save the application. Here I'll select the vertical alignment top, and then we can run the grid application again, and we will see the changes applied. Okay, so we don't have 100% width there. Let's have a quick look. Modules, 100% table width. I apply for the search, not for the grid. So 100%, and then run that. And do notice we have the search, detail, summary, and chart disabled in this application. And there we have the grid, just like we have the form. And we would want to apply here also the custom header. So we can again come to application language, come here to app titles, and here lang title, or whatever you want to call it, country. Okay. I'm going to quickly tap through those. I'll just copy this here then, the new language key, and apply that then into here, my grid table. Don't forget the curly open and close brackets. I can run that now, and I will now have the new title applied to the grid. And let's go ahead and do the same here for the document countries. So again, table width 100%. This time make sure we apply it to the grid and not to the search, which is not enabled anyway. So I will save that. And then we also want to come here to the layout, header and footer. And we can apply here a new language key. So I'll call it lang country doc. And I'll just close that like so. I'll save that. And then I will apply that here in the language table here, lang country doc. We can go country documents and apply that also then within the English and German translations here. Update that. And then if I now run the grid application, we can see that the title has now changed for the new title. Okay, so we still have to apply the vertical alignment here. So if I come here to settings and then vertical alignment to top, and then I will run that application again. And we can see now we have our grid nicely styled with some of the new features. And then we just have to apply that also here to the form. So let's run this one quickly. This is then the countries form. Now here there's a singular form, I believe. Yes, singular form. And again, I'm going to change that to, say, an editable grid this time. So we can have 10 lines per page. I'll come here to settings also, and straight away apply the vertical alignment and change the width table to 100%, and then run the form application again. And we will now straight away see the changes. Okay, so we can still have to change here the titles. Let's quickly apply that. Layout, header and footer, and then again within the language keys we can create here a key. So we have here lang title country. I'll just use the same one again, and then if I come here, lang country title, and then I can apply that also within the bottom one here, and then run the application, and we have the new title applied. Okay, so and country title, I guess I did something wrong there. Lang title country, see? Lang title country. Wrong way around. Lang title country. And run it. And we have then the final admin form there ready with the new languages. Okay, so within the folders we do still have some other applications there to do, which we will do shortly. Okay, so now that we've actually seen how we can actually apply languages to our application, we've imported the entire project, we have applied the data dictionary, applied the application languages to all of the applications. There will be some that we still need to change a few keys on. You should now know also how to update those. And in the next video, what we will do is we will continue and have a look at some of the most important aspects of this project, as well as update the login form. So if I go ahead first of all quickly and generate all of the source code, so all of our applications have been updated because of some of the changes we have applied. And then once that has now generated, we can then go ahead and start up the login page, and we can check out what we are going to then apply to that within the next video. Okay, so I'll now close the generation. I can come here to security, and I have here app logged in. So if I run that, and we are being requested client ID, we can just skip that, go app login, and we can see that we have first of all a HTML login page with a Spanish title, Spanish fields, as well as no language selection here. So that's something we will come up to next. Within the next video, we'll see how we can then add the languages to this login page, as well as then add the language selection to either the individual applications or even the entire menu as we have within the original project that I have shown you at the beginning within the first video. So I hope to see you again soon in part 3 of this Scriptcase video, where we will then continue from where we had left off in this one and continue to customize more of the original project so that we end up with a result that I originally showed you within the beginning of this Scriptcase training. So thank you for watching. I hope to see you again soon.